Every day you carry the most powerful weapon in existence, but most people never learn to use it. They let it control them, shape them, destroy them. This weapon is not a sword. It is not your body. It is your mind. And if you understand how it truly works, you can become inhumanly strong. But if you don't, you will become something far worse than weak. You will become less than human. Most people walk through life completely unaware that their greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. They are ruled by their thoughts, pushed and pulled by emotions, enslaved by stories they never question. From the moment you wake up, your mind begins to speak. You're not living, you're reacting. You're not free, you're conditioned. In the Shaolin tradition, we learn that the mind is like a wild animal. It can serve you with incredible power or destroy everything you build. You must not fear it, but you must never forget what it is. A tool, nothing more. The sword does not swing itself. It will create illusions, trap you in fear, hold you hostage to memories of the past or fantasies about the future. You will live in a prison built by your own thinking. And the worst part is, you will not even see the bars. Every single human has the same mind. The difference between strength and weakness, between peace and suffering, lies only in one thing. Who is in control? A trained mind is a weapon sharper than any blade. An untrained mind is a weight that will drown you, no matter how strong your body becomes. That is why true strength begins not with muscles, but with mental clarity, not with action, but with awareness. When a Shaolin monk trains, he does not only train the body, he trains his ability to direct thought. He practices stillness because in stillness the mind's tricks become visible. He observes his thoughts not with judgment, but with discipline. When anger rises, he sees it. When fear arises, he meets it, and slowly he understands. These thoughts are not him. They are patterns, reactions, echoes. But behind them something else is watching. Something quiet, still powerful. That is who he truly is. Most people never find this awareness because they never stop. They move from one distraction to the next, chasing pleasure, running from pain, never once sitting down and simply looking within. But the one who does, he begins to see the mind for what it truly is. A servant, a blade, a mirror. The thoughts come, but they no longer command. The emotions rise, but they do not dictate action. He becomes still within himself, and from that stillness comes a strength that cannot be broken. You do not need to be a monk to learn this. You do not need to live in the mountains or shave your head or take a vow of silence. What you need is the willingness to look, the courage to stop running, the discipline to train the mind as seriously as you train your body. Begin with one breath. Watch the thought that comes. Do not chase it. Do not fight it. Just see it. Then another breath. Then another. Slowly you will begin to feel it. The separation between you and the thought. The distance between awareness and reaction. And in that space lies your freedom. When the mind is no longer your master, everything changes. You stop overthinking because you no longer believe every thought. You stop seeking validation because you no longer fear being alone. You stop reacting to every challenge and begin to respond with calm focus and intention. You do not need to become cold or emotionless. On the contrary, you become more alive because you are no longer possessed by your thoughts. You begin to see clearly, speak clearly, act clearly. This is the power that most never touch. Not because it is hidden, but because it is simple. Too simple for the distracted mind to respect. To walk this path, you must become ruthless with your attention. You must protect your awareness like a flame in the wind. You must catch yourself in the moment when the mind wants to pull you back into fear or doubt and choose to return to presence. This does not happen in one day. It is a practice, a way of life, a decision made over and over again. But with each decision your power grows. With each moment of awareness, your strength becomes real. You are no longer reacting, you are creating. You are no longer surviving, you are living. This is not about becoming superhuman, it is about becoming fully human, reclaiming what you were born with but forgot. The ability to observe, to choose to act from clarity instead of compulsion. This is the real brain hack. Not a trick, not a shortcut, but a truth. The mind is a tool, not a master, and the moment you remember that, you begin to return to yourself. Repetition can either shape you into something unshakable or bury you in unconscious habit. It is not the act of repeating that creates mastery, but the presence you bring into the repetition. In the modern world, repetition is misunderstood. People equate doing something many times with improvement, but this is not the way. A man can do the same thing for 10 years and remain the same as he was on day one, because he did it without awareness, without presence, without soul. In the Shaolin tradition, repetition is sacred, but only if the mind is there. When a monk strikes, he does not strike mindlessly. He becomes the strike. Every movement, every breath, every shift of balance is done with total awareness. His focus is absolute. And in that state of total presence, the brain begins to change. New connections are formed. Reactions become instinct. Energy flows without resistance. The movement no longer belongs to the body. It becomes an expression of spirit. But outside the temple, the world repeats, blindly. People live on loops. They wake up and scroll. They go to work and complain. They eat the same food, think the same thoughts, fall into the same arguments, suffer the same fears. They believe they are living, but in truth they are only repeating. They are machines in human form, running on old programming, unaware that every day they are reinforcing patterns that weaken them. And the deeper they fall into this unconscious repetition, the more mechanical they become. Less aware, less alive. The path to becoming inhumanly strong begins when you bring awareness back into repetition, not by doing more, but by being more present. Whether you are training your body, studying your craft, or walking through daily life, the key is not quantity, but quality of attention. Are you here or are you drifting? Are you focused or are you split? The brain can only rewire itself in the present moment. If you are absent, you do not grow. You only repeat what you already are. To understand this, take the simplest movement, a punch. Anyone can throw a punch. But to throw the same punch 10,000 times with full presence, with the breath, aligned with the body, balanced with the intention, clear, this transforms the nervous system. It creates a line of energy from the foot to the fist that cannot be broken. The same applies to walking, to breathing, to speaking. If done with awareness, it becomes training. If done without, it becomes habit. And habit without awareness is decay. There is a difference between mastery and mindless automation. One sharpens the spirit, the other dulls it. A master repeats with purpose, with eyes open, with mind still. He knows every time he moves, he is shaping something invisible. Not just muscle, but energy, character, presence. He respects the repetition because he respects the self he is becoming. He is not rushing to arrive, he is deepening his roots with every step. People often want shortcuts. They want to hack the system to bypass the process. But in doing so, they rob themselves of transformation. You do not become strong by avoiding repetition. You become strong by honoring it. But only when you are awake. Only when every strike, every step, every silence becomes a conscious act. Then the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Then the repetition becomes sacred. When a monk sweeps the floor, it is not a chore, it is training. His breath is steady, his posture is aligned, his attention is total. The broom becomes an extension of his body. In that moment he is not doing something small, he is refining discipline. He is developing the muscle of presence. And when the time comes to face difficulty or challenge, that same presence remains. He does not flinch, he does not panic, because he has lived that moment 1,000 times in his training. This is the power most people miss. They separate training from life. They seek intensity but avoid consistency. But the Shaolin path is not about doing what is hard once. It is about doing what is simple forever, with unwavering attention. That is how you become unshakable. That is how you train your brain to operate at a higher level, not by chasing the next thing, but by returning to the first thing with deeper clarity. This is not easy. The mind will resist. It will try to distract you, seduce you with novelty, tempt you to quit. That is the test. Can you stay? Can you repeat with awareness when no one is watching, when no one is praising, when nothing changes on the outside? Can you stay when the reward is invisible, when the only progress is internal? If you can, then something begins to shift. Your body moves with grace. Your words carry weight. Your mind becomes clear. Your energy becomes pure. And those around you will not understand. They will ask why you do the same things every day, why you care about the details, why you move with such intention. They will not see what you see. They are waiting for breakthroughs. You are building one breath at a time. You are becoming inhumanly strong, not because of what you do, but because of how you do it, with awareness, with presence, with discipline. This kind of repetition is not exhausting, it is renewing. When you live with presence, your energy is not drained, it is focused. You do not burn out because you are not chasing, you are choosing. Each moment is a decision to return to the path. Each act is an offering to the person you are becoming. And slowly, without noise, without drama, something inside you becomes unbreakable. Still, silent, powerful. Repetition with awareness is the ultimate weapon because it changes not just your performance, but your identity. It builds a foundation that cannot be seen but can be felt in every movement, in every word, in every choice. This is how you rise without rushing, how you win without shouting, how you lead without shouting, not by doing more, but by doing with presence. The world does not need more noise. It needs more people who are awake. People who have trained their minds through discipline, through silence, through conscious repetition. People who do not fear stillness or boredom because they know that within it lies the doorway to mastery. Bring your awareness back to your breath, to your movement, to the smallest detail of what you do, and let every repetition become a sharpening of the soul. Pain is the one experience every human tries to avoid, yet it is also the one experience every master learns to embrace. From the moment we are young, we are taught that pain is bad, that it must be escaped, hidden, silenced. But this teaching is a lie. Pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your guide, your mirror. It shows you what is weak, what is untrained, what is out of balance. It reveals where your attachments lie, where your fears live, where your resistance hides, but only if you are willing to face it. In the Shaolin path, pain is not something to be feared. It is something to be studied. The monk does not run from it. He sits with it, watches it, allows it. He breathes into it, not because he enjoys suffering, but because he knows what lies on the other side of it. Clarity, strength, wisdom, freedom. The world believes strength is the absence of pain, but the truth is strength is born through pain. It is shaped by pressure, carved by discomfort, forged in the fire of challenge. Without it, there is no transformation. You can train your body for years, but if you never step into the fire of real struggle, you will never know who you are. You will know form, but not depth. You will know motion, but not meaning. Pain cuts through illusion. It strips away all that is fake and leaves only what is real. And that is why most people avoid it. They are not afraid of pain itself. They are afraid of what it will reveal. Their weakness, their insecurity, their lack of control. But the one who is willing to look into that mirror without turning away is the one who begins to change. There is a kind of pain that breaks you and a kind of pain that remakes you. The difference is awareness. When you resist pain, when you complain, when you try to numb it, it becomes your enemy. But when you accept it, welcome it, study it, it becomes your ally. In that moment, the pain no longer owns you. You begin to move through it with intention. You do not collapse, you rise. You do not shrink, you grow. This is not about enjoying pain, it is about learning from it. In training, every push, every stretch, every strike carries pain. Not injury, but challenge. And the body screams, the mind resists it, wants to quit. But in that moment, the monk chooses breath. He chooses stillness. He chooses to listen. He finds the edge and stays there, not to suffer, but to understand. He learns how to remain calm in chaos, how to breathe in discomfort, how to stay focused when the body wants to escape. These are not just physical lessons, they are mental and spiritual tools. They are preparation for life. Because life will bring pain whether you ask for it or not. People will leave, things will break, health will fail. You cannot control the storm, but you can train the one who faces it. And when pain comes, if you have prepared, you will not fall apart. You will feel it, but you will not be destroyed by it. You will bend, but you will not break. You will cry, but you will not lose yourself. This is the strength few understand because they avoid the training that pain provides. There is a saying in the temple, the deeper the root, the stronger the tree. Pain is what drives the roots deep. It humbles you, grounds you, connects you to something beyond comfort. If everything is easy, you remain on the surface. But when things get hard and you keep going, something shifts. You discover a part of yourself that cannot be accessed through comfort, only through pressure, only through fire. Emotional pain is the same. It shows you where you are not free, where you are still attached to image, to outcome, to approval. And if you have the courage to feel it fully, you begin to break those chains. You begin to see clearly. You begin to release the false identity that clings to control. And in that release, you find power. The power to be here without needing things to be perfect. The power to feel without drowning. The power to walk through fear without being owned by it. Most people search for healing by avoiding what hurts. But true healing begins when you step into what you've been running from. When you sit in silence with the ache and say, I am not afraid of you. And in that stillness, something happens. The pain begins to teach. It shows you the lesson you missed, the boundary you need, the truth you refuse to accept. It does not lie. It does not flatter. It only reveals. And if you are honest enough to listen, you grow. This is why the Shaolin path is not about comfort. It is about clarity. Not about avoiding pain, but using it. Every bruise, every failure, every mistake becomes a stepping stone. Not because it feels good, but because it teaches you something that comfort never could. You do not need to chase pain, but you must stop running from it. You must learn to see it not as a punishment, but as feedback. Not as cruelty, but as correction. It is the pressure that creates the diamond, the friction that sharpens the blade. In your life you will be tested, and the question is not whether you can avoid pain. The question is whether you can face it with presence, with discipline, with humility. Can you breathe through it? Can you learn from it? Can you allow it to shape you instead of shatter you? If you can, then every hardship becomes a gift. Every setback becomes a lesson. And you become unshakable not because life is easy, but because you are prepared. The strongest people are not those who feel nothing, but those who feel everything and remain clear. They are not detached, they are disciplined, they do not escape, they endure. And in that endurance they discover a quiet power, a steady light, a presence that cannot be stolen by circumstance. This is the kind of strength that does not fade with age or crumble with failure. It is internal, eternal, immovable. Pain will visit you again and again. Let it in. Let it teach. Let it sharpen what is dull. Reveal what is hidden. Transform what is false. Do not fight it blindly and do not surrender to it completely. Walk with it. Breathe with it. Let it shape you into someone deeper, calmer, stronger. When you stop fearing pain and start listening to it, you stop being a victim of life and start becoming a student of it. In a world that worships speed, stillness is mistaken for weakness. Yet, in the tradition of the Shaolin Temple, stillness is the beginning of all strength, all clarity, all true movement. Without stillness, the mind is noisy, the body is restless, the spirit is scattered. And when the mind is scattered, the body cannot move with precision, the breath cannot move with power, the energy cannot flow with freedom. Stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the origin of it. It is the point before action, where the mind and body align, where intention is born, where presence becomes possible. You cannot strike with full force if your mind is chaotic. You cannot respond with wisdom if your thoughts are racing. True power does not come from how fast you can move, but from how deeply you are rooted in stillness before the movement begins. Every master knows this. He does not rush, he waits. He observes, he breathes. And when he moves, the strike is clean, not because it is fast, but because it is precise, because it is grounded in stillness. Stillness is where the mind learns to see without judgment, to listen without reaction, to move without hesitation. But to reach this stillness you must train. You must sit in silence when everything inside wants to escape. You must hold your center when the world pushes you off balance. You must return again and again to the breath, the posture, the awareness. Not to achieve something, but to remember what you already are underneath all the noise. Without stillness, repetition becomes mindless. Without stillness, pain becomes suffering. Without stillness, the mind becomes a slave to thought. But when stillness is present, every repetition becomes sacred. Every pain becomes a message. Every thought becomes a choice. You are no longer reacting blindly. You are moving with awareness, with discipline, with grace. In the temple, a monk may sit for hours in silence, not because he is doing nothing, but because he is training the most important muscle of all, attention. He is not chasing thoughts, he is not lost in time, he is here. And in this presence, he becomes still like the surface of calm water. And when the time comes to move, that movement carries the power of the whole ocean. This is not something you can fake, it is something you become. Many people want to be strong, but they avoid the silence that reveals their weakness. They want to be clear, but they avoid the stillness that shows their confusion. They want to move forward, but they have never stopped long enough to know where they truly are. Movement without stillness is chaos. It is noise without rhythm. It is action without purpose. But when you return to stillness, every movement becomes deliberate. Every choice becomes conscious. Every moment becomes sacred. Stillness is also where you meet yourself. Without distraction, without performance, without control. It is uncomfortable at first because the mind is loud and the body is impatient. But if you remain, if you breathe, if you stay, the noise begins to fade. The patterns begin to reveal themselves. You begin to see how much of your life has been a reaction to noise instead of a response from presence. And in that seeing, a shift begins. You stop living on the surface and begin to move from the center. This is why true power looks effortless. Because it is not forced, it is not driven by fear or ego. It arises naturally from stillness. Like the arrow that flies straight because it was pulled from perfect stillness. Like the tree that stands strong because its roots grow deep in the silent soil. When you cultivate stillness within you, no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. Your presence speaks louder than words. Your silence becomes your strength. Stillness is not passive. It is active surrender. It is deep listening. It is full attention. It is choosing not to react, choosing not to rush, choosing to return to center before acting. And this choice must be made again and again until it becomes your nature. Until you no longer seek stillness, you are stillness. And from that place, every movement becomes a reflection of inner peace. In a fight, it is the still fighter who wins, the one who does not waste energy on fear or emotion, the one who waits, sees, breathes, and then strikes when the time is right. Not out of impulse, but from clarity. In life, it is the same. The still person makes better decisions, connects more deeply, sees more clearly. Not because they are smarter, but because they are not lost in noise. They are present. And presence is power. If your mind is always moving, you are not free. You are pulled by thought, pushed by emotion, dragged by desire. But when the mind rests in stillness, you become the master. You choose which thought to follow, which emotion to honor, which desire to act on. You become calm, not because life is easy, but because you are steady. You become strong, not because you force things, but because you flow with them. Stillness does not stop movement, it perfects it. Even in action, you can remain still. The body can move while the mind stays centered. The voice can speak while the heart remains calm. This is what separates those who are simply active from those who are truly alive. They are not moved by the world, they move with it. They are not shaken by chaos, they hold the center. And from that center they act with power, with purpose, with peace. Stillness is also where intuition lives, the deeper knowing that does not come from thought, but from presence. When the mind is quiet, the heart speaks. When the body is still, the spirit moves. But most people never hear this voice because they are too loud inside, too busy, too distracted, too restless. They miss the signal because they never pause long enough to listen. But the master hears it always, because he has trained himself to be still even in the storm. Every great transformation begins in stillness. Every deep insight rises from silence. Every true decision is made not in noise, but in clarity. The world will try to pull you away from this over and over, but your strength will come from returning, from remembering, from resting in the space before the next step, and choosing not from fear, not from pressure, but from stillness. The body moves, the mind thinks, the heart feels, but the source behind all of it is stillness. And when you find it, when you live from it, everything changes, without needing to change anything at all. This brain hack is not a trick, it is a path. And like all true paths, it requires sacrifice. You can become inhumanly strong, not because you add more, but because you remove what is false. You discipline your mind, you repeat with presence, you embrace pain, you live in stillness. This is not magic. This is mastery. But beware, if you misuse it, if you use the brain to dominate rather than liberate, you will lose the very thing that made you human, your spirit. The choice is yours. Will you train the mind or be consumed by it?